Yes, yes. Check this.
Ladies and gentlemen, I heartily welcome you all to the Golden Jubilee edition of International Film Festival of India. Today's session will address how these master craftsmen find their voice, how they craft and leave an impact on the audience. We have with us an eminent filmmaker and an actor speaking from the heart. We don't require any introduction for the man who is known for social-political films such as Raman, Mrityudand, Gangajal, Apharan, and many more. He is a director, producer, screenwriter, and an actor, Mr. Prakash Jha. Along with him, we have with us a rare star from the Northeast, shining in both Indian and international cinema, who brings a sense of calmness to his roles on the silver screen. Please welcome the National Award-winning versatile actor, Shri Adil Hussin. To take this shift forward, we have the head of Film Facilitation Office of the Ministry of I&B at the National Film Development Corporation. He is the man behind the creation of film-friendly ecosystem in India through his unique initiatives. Please welcome the moderator for this session, Mr. Vikramjit Roy. Now I would request Mr. Ankur Lahoti, Assistant Director, DFF, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, to please present the mementos to our esteemed guests. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for, I want to thank IFI for giving me this opportunity to do this. Both the gentlemen actually need no introduction. And I think their body of work has been so immense and so powerful that I was quite intimidated yesterday when I had to kind of go through and I was kind of wondering, what is it that I would ask them and what if I missed out on something? But sir, Prakash Ji, I want to tell you that Hippopotamus was my favorite film. I mean, I think years back when I had seen it, and I remember the kind of buzz it created in Calcutta. And we were in, I think, just passing out of school with such warm memories. So thank you. And sir, for you, the kind of work that you've done, I've had the pleasure and the privilege and honor to work with you in Arunodaya. And that was such an experience. Sir, of course, you've been associated with films that have really taken real life to real, and that's what our conversation is. So I begin by first turning to you, sir. Pariksha, and I was going through it yesterday, is about education. And what I'm seeing, sir, is that you bring such compelling real life stories onto the screen. In spite of the aura and the splendor that the silver screen has, you've been able to win audiences worldwide with your stories, You have such a fan following. And when we watch your films, we kind of willingly suspend our disbelief in the sense that we set aside all doubts and we kind of go into the story and you immerse us into it. Your films have obviously had a huge emotional impact on all of us. I'm a big fan of yours. And makes us contemplate our questions and our thoughts. Where do you get this inspiration from? You've spoken a lot about borrowing from real life. Could you share that journey with us? Can you tell us and the audiences about where does this come from? This whole power of compelling stories that you have.
Good afternoon to you all. And thank you very much. It is always a pleasure to talk to you, Vikram.
Thank you, sir.
it indeed would be very difficult for me to pinpoint in one direction, say this is where I get my inspiration from. But I think like all of you, like all of us, I am generally interested in whatever is happening around me, within the society, in the country. Generally, things keep happening all the time, and I want to know why something is happening the way it is happening, what impact it is bringing about. A small chip invented in Japan affects the people in my village. How does it happen? So as things unfold, stories emerge, characters emerge, and once the equations become clearer, I'm eager to share it as a film. So it's not entirely drawn from a real story, but it is an assimilation of experiences, things, incidents, characters, drama, fiction, which eventually turns out to be a screenplay and a film that I come up with. Always very scared, very afraid whether my interpretation of the story is going to be understood, is going to engage my audience or not. But somehow it happens, and when it happens, it is magic. That's all I can say.
Adil, I turn to you, and I want to take a leaf of that thought which Prakash Ji has said. Yesterday when I heard you at your session on skill development, and you said that there are certain liberties with certain aspects of life that an actor portrays. Maybe not your exact words, but that's what I interpreted it. And seeing so many of your films, in every role you've said you've given the character a real life feeling. I mean, you believe the characters that you portray, and I'm talking from an audience perspective. And that's where I think the appeal of Adil Hussin really lies, And as an actor, how much of liberties do you take in that real life character that you portray, or is it predefined by the director?
Again, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good question, because I think it's always a co-creation with the director. But before, rarely it happened that the director I have met before and told me the story. Like in this case in Pariksha, he first told me the story and then he took time to write the entire thing and he sent me the script. But most often the way it happens is that I get the script first and I read, and if I like. So when I read the script, I read it, if I decide to do the film, then I read it several times to the point that I know why this 5 W's that Stanislavski talks about, like who, where, when, what, and why. So I don't have to analyze it intellectually, but just by reading the script again and again and again and again, it sort of sinks, those questions, those answers sink into my system, and you know why this person is behaving the way this person is behaving in a particular given circumstances. And I try to find the point of identification, like how close this character is to me in my life. Do I have similar or certain experiences in my life which sort of I can identify with, but sometimes you don't. like for example, a film you were one of the producers, Ornaday, as Sunrise, that I could not identify with that character at all. This is the most difficult role that I've ever played so far in my film life. Because the father lost his daughter, or the daughter was kidnapped 10 years ago when she was 10 years old, and being a police officer, I could not find him. So the defeated father, failed cop, is trying to look for his daughter every evening throughout the night, and he's almost gone mad, and I didn't know how to do that role at all. So I didn't want to also think of these brilliant ideas which come to my mind. जैसे हम अक्सर अगर हिंदी में बात करते हैं तो I think everybody understands Hindi as well here. Huh? Not everybody. Okay, just few sentences. I will, it's expression in Hindi से हम ये कर लेंगे ना, वो करके दिखा देंगे. ये हम इसमें we will put in this thing and we'll make it work. Some tricks that actors generally come up with because they have tested those tricks and they try to use it to get by. So not to entertain those brilliant ideas at all and let the creative self, which is the most mysterious self, it is mysterious according to me. I don't know how it works, but if your intellectual mind do not come in between that creative reservoir which you have within and your execution through the physical, biological body, then it works better. That you don't come in between the role and the creative inspiration. So I don't know how to explain it, but when I work with young actors and when I share my experiences, not like this is just talking, because talking would never help acting. It's a matter of doing. So then we experience that how it is possible for an actor to make this instrument, to make it a sort of a receiving vessel for the insights, very humble insights. Humble, when I say humble, I mean they do not force it. They whisper. And if you can make yourself silent enough to listen to it and let those impulses take place and let them execute through your biological self. So that's the process. So if I have enough time to read it and read it and read it, and I don't entertain I don't ask myself how to do it, because there's one great acting scholar said that the moment you ask the question how to do it, you are planting the seed of banality. You should not know how to do it. And then fresh things can happen. I don't know whether I answered your question, but this is the process. Thank you.
Just for our audience, I want to know that Arunodaya, in the year that it was made, went not only to Busan, but in Tribeca, it was among the top 10 films of the year. So I think that deserves a round of applause. It wouldn't have happened without you. And I have a question for you, just coming back to Arunodaya, but right now I want to go to Mr. Jha. And again, for the audiences, I had a very interesting meeting once in the US, and I met with this gentleman who's revered in Hollywood, Jeff Skoll. And his studio was telling me about what they do. And I was thinking, and last time when I read, I actually called up the Studio Connect that I have, and I said, you know what? Your boss is the Prakash Jha of the United States. So participant media is doing what actually Mr. Jha has done way back. Just to tell you, and this is of interest, and I thought that this was fascinating, because no other filmmaker that I have known, or I have the films that I've seen, have actually been able to take cause and put it back into society and make a change through his NGO that he's doing. And Participant Media, which is now a big studio, and they do a lot of such work, actually does this. So I actually called him last night, and I told him, sir, you should see the Prakash Jha model. And I'm coming to a question on that. Sir, Parisha follows, of course, Arashan with the education system. And I have read in your interviews that you've talked about a change that you want to somewhere contribute to and bring about. Comparing films, as I've said, which are socially relevant. In my mind, you're more of a social entrepreneur now. You reached that level where you're a social entrepreneur. And for a lot of us, audiences that have gone in, you've been able to contribute, in your own unique way to our kind of conscious mind. And I want to understand from you better, and perhaps with the audience, because I've got this linkage, is tell us about how once you've done the film, and your journey back to the society through your NGO. Okay, that's a very, very interesting point, I thought, and I'd love to listen to you on that aspect.
Frankly speaking, there is no connection.
Your NGO and the
Between my movies, between the work that I do, nothing is intended. There is, it probably is organic. And quite honestly, I am not very fond of talking about what we do on the ground through the NGO, really. We try and do whatever little we can. And there are no defined kind of like, we help the underprivileged in education, we also help in the disaster kind of like situations. That's entirely because there is something we can do, if somewhere we can help, and I don't really like to talk about it. I mean, whatever we can do wherever, As far as my films are concerned, believe me, and everybody thinks that I have got something against the system, something I want to bring about a change in the society. No, I don't. Change is always inevitable. Change is always welcome. Change is something you cannot stop. Everything will change. The society will change, the system will change, the politics will change, people will change, relationships will change. I'm never critical of change. Why should I be? The education system is bound to change because it reciprocates the needs of the society. What was the need 30 years ago did not remain the need 20 years ago, is not the need now. When a society or a country or a system requires just engineers and managers, then obviously the whole education system will bring about or churn out engineers and managers. When the study in humanities becomes immaterial, you have a whole generation which is completely devoid of humanities. Nobody studies history, geography, literature, mathematics, pure science. Nobody studies those things today. And when you do not have humanities in your basic education in the society will change. You'll have a generation which thinks differently, which acts differently, which has different values and system. So for me it is interesting to study those changes, to try and understand why something is happening the way it is happening. It is not a matter of alarm for me that when Bombay University, which has 600 scholarship, spread over the entire university for humanities, study of humanities, and only 6 people apply. And see, already the changes are happening. The engineering colleges, the management colleges and institutes all over the country are now kind of going empty. That whole peak had changed. And there is already a very slow and soft, but there is, an interest back into studies of humanities. So these are the changes which are happening, like how in the entire world there is a threat to perception on democracy and secularism. All over the world. Majoritarianism kind of like is strongly controlling the system. It's not just one place, it's a global phenomenon, global change. Hello? Hello? Yeah. So these are changes which are constantly happening in our society because of various economic, ideological, political, emergencies. And I am keen to observe them, keen to try and understand them, keen to weave them into stories and share them. I have no agenda, please believe me. I am extremely happy the way it is and the way the change is happening. There is no ideology that I support. There is no ideology that I detest. I welcome everything, I welcome every new idea. Thank you.
You talked about all of that. And I was just thinking about, when I saw this film yesterday again, you got into that character. And then it was amazing, when you would meet him at the sets and he would be completely out of the character and be himself. And my question is, how do you get out of such a difficult portrayal and then be back to your normal self? How do you do that transformation with such ease?
No, it hasn't been easy. I had been a fanatic method actor. Method acting, if you call it method acting, it's not entirely correct for the simple reason that method acting was sort of put together by Lee Strasberg, and unless Lee Strasberg teaches you, then it's method acting. But the kind of version that I was taught was the teacher's personal interpretation of method acting. But whatever I came to know, I followed it. I played a role called Mephistopheles, which is the devil of the devil, the incarnation of evil, in a play called Dr. Faust. And that's the time I got scared because I realized that I had been deteriorating as a human in terms of the human values that I really sort of respected and cherished. Those were deteriorating, and then I asked myself that do I have to deteriorate as a human being in order to be a better actor? So that question chased me for a long time, and I sort of traveled wide and long to find answers. So Arunodaya was the first film in my life where I behaved like a happy actor. Now when I say happy actor, in Kudiyattam, I don't know, any of you don't know about Kudiyattam, or maybe none of you know, I don't know. You know about, yes. So Kudiyattam is a, jeez. Oh, there you go. Wow, I haven't seen that.
Kudiyattam, one of the short films. In fact, it won a national award.
ये आपने मुझे दिखाया नहीं?
अभी तो बहुत कुछ बाकी है आपको दिखाने को. अभी आपने देखा क्या मैं?
So the Kudiyattam actor, I had been in interaction with one of the disciples of one of the greatest gurus, Aman Chakia. The same person was probably. So Aman and his disciple called Venugopalan Nair. So he told me that the Kudiyattam actors come to the stage and says, I'm happy and now I'm going to play this role, he's sad. So that struck me a great deal. And it's a long story, so I'm going to cut it short. Something happened in 2011 while I was doing a play, and something magical happened where I did not have anything to hold on to in order to do that role in that particular play. And I was ready to fall and bleed, didn't know how to do that role. And something magical happened, so I jumped from the cliff, not literally, but metaphorically. I jumped from the cliff, and instead of falling and bleeding, I flew and had fun. And then the next film I did was another, the story which I would like to share with you. So the director used to live in Sydney, I am in Delhi, they are producing from Bombay. So the director, he's 1 year junior to me, he calls me, he's also Bengali speaking, and he also speaks French fluently in English of course, but he's basically a person who grew up in Shivaji Nagar, a Bengali guy, did a Marathi film with one Assamia, one Bengali actor, and so he used to call me and ask me, Dada, kichu bhabcho? Are you thinking about the role? And I said, no. Why? How will you do it? I'm like, I don't know. What do you mean? There's no thoughts. I said, I'm not entertaining those thoughts. That's the first time I practiced it, what I said before when you asked me that question. I said, what do you mean? I said, see, Partho, you have cast me. In 2008, he cast me. We shelved the film in 2008, and then we started shooting in 2013. So past also was script, for 5 years the script was with me, and of course he kept developing it, and he kept sharing each draft with me, so I kept reading it. So I said, I'm reading the script every day, and the script was like 84 pages, and I had 14 words in the entire film, playing the lead, only words, not sentences. So he told me a story that I sent to other actors. They said, "Oh, आपका script तो ready नहीं है, dialogue नहीं है." So when he sent me the script, I said, "I love this script." Why? I said, "I don't have to speak. It's an extra burden on me to speak also. I have to act, I have to be there, but I don't have to speak." So I did not prepare. The only thing I prepared is how not to think about the role that I'm playing. Let it happen. The huge difference between letting it happen and making it happen. We are so used to make it happen. That's the social mode. You have to be a go-getter, you have to make it happen. You work hard for anything that you aspire for, but just let things happen. And the right things will happen at the right time. That's what I have learned from that play, and immediately after that, from the film. And so when he used to come to Chennai, hey, everything, other shot ready. So I go, I take a breath, and I'm there. And I was shocked when I saw, hey, it worked. And people ask me, how did you prepare the role? I said, I have no idea. No clue. To the point, when we first screened it, sir, in Busan, so after second screening, third screening, there is no Q&A. So every evening there is a party, and so Partho, me, and the producers, we are all sitting around, and we're talking to some people. So this guy comes. From his accent, I realized he's American. So he comes and he talks to the director. I loved the film, it was so good, sir, and blah, blah, blah. And that actor, he was in Life of Pi, but I couldn't recognize this. The same actor? I'm right here. So Partho is saying, he's the actor. He said, no, I'm talking about the lead actor. So Partho is saying, he's the lead actor. You? No! I'm like, oh! Really? So that's the best compliment I have ever gotten in my life. It's like, You're not recognized, and that's so good. Such a high, like, so I start now. Acting has become such a joy for me. It used to be a burden on my shoulder. Like, so coming out, the question I'm coming to, the answer I'm coming to your question is that, so I have found within this amazingly complex instrument, which is the best on the planet Earth, that nature has given, human system, that I found a space within which is a very safe space, like where you feel extremely light and happy and peaceful and content and whatever. So I consolidated that by certain practices I've been taught. And within few breaths, if I take, it used to take 1 hour, now it takes like few minutes. And to the point, I have also come to that space within one breath by taking just, and I'm there. So get out of the darkness from the lowest depth of humanity, you come to a space of lightness. So I don't think, so it is almost switching on and switching off, but the speed has become faster, but the length of the distance from there, it hasn't shortened. But the speed of the vehicle coming to that lighter space has become faster now. There's no trick. It's a very organic and long naturopathic treatment. There's no antibiotic how to do that.
I know, because you have, I mean, I'm sure everybody's seen that. And Delhi crime. Again, I'm coming to this fact that somehow as an actor, and that's also later on I'll have the same question for Prakash.
He's not trying to snatch away all my roles.
But he's also such a fantastic producer with your first film that I think went to so many festivals and what a story. Mukti Bhavan, theatrical, festival, Delhi crime, OTT. So, has the acting nuances also changed? Were you ever looking at acting from a point of course, it's a script, but were you ever looking at it from, was there a demand on you? Whether you did independent films, Hollywood films, films in various languages, did the medium somewhere determine it, saying that, Adil Saab, this has to go to the theatre, or Adil Saab, this has to go to the festival.
Right.
Now with Delhi crime, was it like, oh, we're waiting for the OTT platform? So this is something that I would like to know from an intense person like you, and you're doing so many roles, so many languages. Could you tell us a little bit about that and your thoughts of an actor's journey from that perspective?
I think the inherent nature of narrative, the writing itself serves the platform. If it is a feature-length film, then the way it is written, that will be enough. If it is a 13 episode or 25 episode OTT platform, the fleshing out of characters, the go deeper into the characters and interpersonal relationship between different characters, like smaller characters also become important because then you go to their houses and you see their families, like in Delhi Crime, for example. Otherwise, it would have been a film, if it is a feature film, then the main 2 or 3 protagonists, they play the lead, through their perspective we see the film. I don't think, acting-wise, I have never been asked, except for one Tamil film that I did. I've been asked, like, "Sir, we ended up." Oh my God, this is what I have to do now. But I did it, and my acting teacher, who I trust the most, he said, that's the best you did. Because you had no shame. No like, oh, you're the serious goddamn, intense actor, shactor, up karte ho, nuance acting. But do that also with equal flair, just do it. Apart from that film, I was never told that, no, okay, this is meant for OTT. Except for another one, the first time when I did my first television series in 2001 called Jasus Vijay. So there's a very famous dialogue, I'm sure all of you know that, "Doodh ka doodh, pani ka pani to karna hi hoga." So I read the line, and I was fresh graduate from LSD, and I did Chekhov and Gorky and Tolstoy. And so suddenly I see "Doodh ka doodh, pani ka," and I'm like, okay. तुम्हारे कहा "Doodh ka doodh, pani ka pani to karna hi hoga," sir. Glamour के साथ So I know what he meant, but I wanted to just probe. I said, glamour के साथ कैसे बोलते हैं? Nobody taught me. I mean, I studied in LSD, I studied in England acting, but nobody taught me how to say it with glamour. Tell me how to. Professor, जमा के. उन्होंने कहा दूध का दूध, पानी का पानी, तो करना है सर ये चाहिए. मैंने कभी नहीं बोलूँगा मैं. So these are the 2 times that I have been commanded. Professor, सर ऐसे नहीं बोलोगे तो clap नहीं आएगा. हाँ. So once or twice, but otherwise I was never been commanded.
So you actually answered my next question, which was on this very aspect. Sir, I want to turn to you, and you're director par excellence. You've done various things. I mean, you've gone on from documentaries, feature films, television features, series. What are you going to debut on the web platform, the OTT platform? I've been reading certain news article on that, but I thought I'd check with you first. It would be interesting to know what kind of, are you doing a series, or are you contemplating something on that side? And also, sir, as a producer, and also as a director, you have to weave in the commerce element, with the entertainment element, the content element in it. And as a producer, how are you seeing the, is there a new kind of pressure, or is there a new kind of dynamic that has come about with the whole advent of the video on demand platform that is happening?
To be honest, I'm still discovering it. I mean, we're just shooting at this point of time a web series called Ashram. It's an interesting subject. It deals with the life of godmen, fake godmen. So there is a lot of inherent drama in it anyway, social kind of of faith, belief, all kinds of things. But I'm still not very well versed with the OTT platforms and the demand, which I think the Indian audience is still kind of defining it, because as the soap operas on television got well defined, and you exactly know what kind of saas bahut things, what kind of grammar for the scene making, or the shot making, or the serial making was demanded and was produced and was delivered. But I'm not very proficient as far as OTT is concerned. I'm still a film guy. I like my stories to have the definite act 1, act 2, and act 3, and sort of be done with it as far as the film, the storytelling is concerned. But yes, it's an interesting medium to kind of to expand, to give, as he was saying, credence and space to all different characters, different subplots, as they say, and see how it goes. So it will be kind of unjust for me to speak extensively, or to try and really speak about the OTT platform content as it's unfolding in the country at this point of time. Hopefully, kind of because that's the kind of demand which is rising, and people are spending money on that. Whether it will be successful and how many OTT platforms will really eventually remain is to be seen. But we still are film guys, really.
Sir, before I throw it open to the audience, I'm sure there are a lot of people who want to ask you questions, and I don't want to take that from them. But I can't help but ask this. I saw your performance in Ganga Jagri, Pedro Constable, and then Sankhya, and now you've done this wonderful short film called Justaju. And you've said, that I follow my director's vision as an actor, and I've read the statement. And sometimes, and I thought that is the director actually following Prakash Jha's vision somewhere there? Because you're there on the stage, I mean, you're there on set, and how did that happen? I mean, how do you handle that bit? That, to make him feel that you're not Prakash Jha, the director, but you're Prakash Jha, the actor. And he should have that kind of sensibility and his vision, and you're respecting that. To certainly be looking at the monitor and saying, did I do this right? Prakash is here on the set. How do you deal with this? I'm sure, or has it happened before, or how do you experience this, and how do you kind of are able to put them at ease?
Vikram, you may have a perception or a vision of Prakash Jha, the director. I don't have any such vision.
I think that community deserves an round of applause.
I have no illusions about that.
You obviously have a fat boy sitting here.
I know that I am just nothing. I'm when I'm on the set. Even as a director these days, when I go to the set to shoot a film or to shoot a scene, Adil knows we enjoy. I never direct my actors on the set ever.
It doesn't say.
I never. We enjoy. We just, as it grows on that particular day, the scene unfolds itself. As an actor, I have just begun to enjoy my work because it's like one more aspect of expression. I was writing, I was directing, I was editing, I was shooting, I operate the camera. I really enjoy doing everything. But I never performed. But when I really seriously did think of adding something more, I worked on it and I enjoy it. I enjoy the part of acting. And when I am acting, in fact, I've just finished a film, shooting a film which is now in post-production, which we haven't still talked to the media about. And there I had a director who is a first-time director, who has never even come to Bombay, who just lives in a place called Mathura, and he's written this script and he's made a play out of it, and he thinks I can do that role. I am surprised that he thinks about me, but when he pulls me into the character, and 2 or 3 days of shooting, he tells me exactly what the character is. And when I try to do something, he said, no, this is not my character. And it takes me a little time to get hold of that character. And he's right. He's exactly right, because he knows that character, I don't. I have to find him. And once I find him, it becomes a joy.
So, but do you ever feel that, when he tells you to do it a certain way, or he allows you that?
No, nobody tells you to do it in a certain way, because he also doesn't know the way. He can only tell you what it is. If I try and tell Adil to act in a different way or how to get to that character, I will be a foolish guy. All I can do is I can inform him. I can give him all the answers. I can sort of I can encourage him to ask me questions. That I do with all my actors, including Mr. Bachchan or Saif or Ajay Devgan or whoever I've worked with.
Do the directors do the same with you, when you're an actor?
I would like them to answer me, to give me as much information as possible, to give me as much references as possible. But eventually, as an actor, you need to find that character. You need to find that person. Some of it is real, some of it is fiction, some of it is constructed, some of it comes from your sense memory, some of it, you can imagine a sense memory, you can do all kinds of things. But eventually you will find that character, and when you do, it becomes a joy. That's how it works.
Are we seeing you directing very soon?
That could be the answer. Sir, say. I'll think about it.
So since I wait, don't clap yet. So since the time I have met him, I have seen that consistently he's taking away some roles which were supposed to be done by me. And he said, this morning when I complained about it, he said, please take away all the things that I do, leave one for me, acting. So I said, I
No,
can't.
we were trying to exchange. I said you take acting, you take direction, you take writing, you take photography, you take editing, everything I give you. Just give me the acting.
So I think directing is a monumental job, as far as from my perspective, and hats off to all the directors in the world who has the kind of that awareness, kind of demands that the person has to sort of go through is like monumental for me. There are two stories that I have in my mind which I would like to, but I have no idea when that would happen because I can't even sit myself I haven't gotten myself to sit down and write a few scenes, but there are two stories that I'd like to tell. That could be. It's not because I want to direct, I want to tell those two stories. And if I can't find a better person to tell the way that I see those stories, I will do it myself. And if I find somebody who's better than me to tell the story that I would like to tell, the way I would like to tell, then why not?
So you have your film playing here. If you can say a few things and then about the film and about Ifi, and then we'll open it up.
Pariksha is a very simple story. It's not one of those complex social assimilation of ideas or stories or problems that usually my films are. But it's a very simple story about aspiration of an underprivileged to have his child, get educated in a certain manner that opportunities which are available to a certain class of people also become available to his child. Adil plays a rickshawala who every single morning takes a bunch of kids to this English school, as happens in most of our kind of like North Indian towns, and brings them back every afternoon, and he loves this part of the job that he does. Like, he plies his rickshaw through the day, but this taking the children to school and bringing them back is something he actually looks forward to every single day. The reason is that he has a child who is brilliant, who is excellent in his studies, but has no opportunities. The child is in a municipal school, and he keeps on looking at this school where his access is only up to the gate. He deposits the children and brings them back. So he hopes that one day his child can go into that school, and it happens. And when it happens, the limits that he has to go to keep his child in that school is the story of the film.
What a poignant tale. What a poignant tale. With that, Adil, would you like to talk about the character?
The only thing that I enjoyed playing the role, and I thank you officially now again for giving me the role, and you didn't do it by yourself. And
I only do the roles which you refuse to do.
right, okay, that will be the contract.
Yes. Great. Which is what has happened.
If I hear otherwise, then what
the film I did in Mathura, the script came to you and you didn't do it.
No, because I didn't think that I can do the language. Otherwise, I would have done it.
Well, good luck for me.
I think on that note, I'd like to throw it open to the house. I'm sure there are mics.
There's one hand which is gone up
Yeah,
there
just
first.
mention your name and who the film.
Short questions.
So, I am Surendra I am a school student from Amici College, Chennai. First of all, thank you very much, sir, for your wonderful answers. I gained more knowledge from you, sir. From your experience and your point of view, sir, who is a good actor? First question, sir. I had 3 questions. Who is a good actor?
The one who cannot be recognized as an actor. He just answered that.
Yes, sir. What are the qualities you want to find from the actor as a director?
The best answer was, as I said, the best acting is no acting. if you can act so that you don't act.
Yes, sir. Sir, and second one, sir, as a producer,
That's the best acting. Yeah.
I think we, okay, give me,
the second question, sir, one
That answer is the problem. That answer is the problem.
Yeah, of course. It's not
When I'm proving myself, I am the best actor because I was not recognized. No, I would say, I would add to what he says. I think a good actor is who just simply can, fall into the patra of the role. And to be able to do that, you have to be flexible, fluid, transparent, and a bit of awareness. Yeah. So.
yes.
Yes.
Hello, sir. I'm Shubham Pandey from Madhya Pradesh. Hello, Adil sir. It was nice listening to you, and I think we all enjoyed your things, what you told us. Prakash sir, I have a question for you. While there is a shooting in our village or city, we people think, like I already thought about sometime when the shooting is going on, that if I will look fine today, hello, if I will look fine today, or the day the shooting is going on in my city or some particular place, then I will be noticed, and director might be that director will notice me, or I will be noticed by actors and directors, and I'll get a chance. Like I have sometime I've thought about it. Did this thing ever happen with you, that you chose a single person from this type of feeling in any place? Did it ever happen?
Fantastic question. It reminds me, sir. It's very funny. Please sit down. So I came from a small town called Gwalpara, and I came and rented a thatch hut in Guwahati, which is the capital city of Assam, in front of the most famous director's house in Assam, thinking that one day, because that happened to another actor, I heard. So one day, he comes out and I come out, and he says, "You are my hero." I spent 8 years. I never saw him. And then one fine day, I was sitting in Kolkata, in Assam house. One guy comes in, and I don't even know this guy. Adil, would you be wanting to act in a film if you are not playing the hero? And yeah, come and meet me when you come back to Assam. That happened. That's my first Assamese film I did in 1985. So, it also happened that way. But when I stayed there in front of the house, and the house rent was 150 rupees per month.
Sir,
नमस्ते आदिल सर, मैं उत्तर प्रदेश का रहने वाला हूँ।
Sorry, आपका माइक काम नहीं कर रहा।
सर नमस्ते झा सर, नमस्ते आदिल सर, मैं उत्तर प्रदेश का रहने वाला हूँ और गाजीपुर का, बनारस के पास। तो सर आप जो है एक स्वाभाविक एक्टर हैं, स्वाभाविक डायरेक्टर हैं, आप जो है स्वाभाविक एक्टर हैं, डायरेक्शन आप करते हैं। तो सर झा सर, मैं आपसे कहना चाह रहा हूँ कि जो यूपी में और बिहार में जो भू माफिया हैं, आपने इसके आरक्षण बनाया, इंद्रजल बनाया और आपने अपहरण बनाया। सर ये यूपी बिहार में शिक्षा माफिया बहुत, मतलब शिक्षा की माफियागिरी बहुत ज़्यादा है। सर उस पर आप कोई फिल्म बनाते हो, आदि सब उस पर मतलब लगते हैं, तो सर बहुत अच्छा रहता है। ये मुझे कास्टिंग भी करा दे। जो भी सर मैं उसका
प्रोड्यूसर भी बैठा हुआ है। मैं समझ गया। आपका प्रश्न अगर विषय से संबंधित होगा तो अच्छा रहेगा। अभी जिस विषय पर बात हो रही थी, आप इंस्पायर्ड होकर यहाँ तक आएंगे तो मुझे पता है आप कल न कल, आज न कल आप इस पर जरूर फिल्म बनाएंगे और हम आपके साथ खड़े होंगे। हेलो,
पहले अभी जैसा कि आपने कहा सर कि जब भी हम लोग स्क्रिप्ट लिख रहे होते हैं तो डर रहता है कि ऑडियंस तक ये पहुंचेगा या नहीं पहुंचेगा, तो सर इस चीज़ से ओवरकम कैसे किया जाए, या मतलब आपका क्या प्रोसेस होता है इससे ओवरकम करने के लिए? और सर आदिल सर आपसे क्वेश्चन है कि
एक सवाल हो जाए उसके बाद।
हाँ,
अगर इससे इस डर से निकलने का कोई प्रेस्क्रिप्शन होता मेरे पास तो मैं दुनिया का सबसे धनी आदमी होता आज, क्योंकि मैं बहुत महंगे दाम में उस प्रेस्क्रिप्शन को बेचता। मेरे भाई ऐसा कोई प्रेस्क्रिप्शन है नहीं। डर अपनी बात दूसरे तक हम कह सकते हैं, इसका अधिकार हमको है। दूसरे सुन के समझ सकते हैं कि नहीं समझ सकते, इसका अधिकार उनको है, इसकी समझ उनको है। दूसरे के समझ पे हम कोई गारंटी ले लें, हम कोई मतलब हम इसको मान ले कि समझ ही जाएंगे, तो ये तो हमारी मूर्खता होगी। हमारी कोशिश ये रहनी चाहिए कि हमारी भाषा, हमारी एक्सप्रेशन वो सब ऐसी हो जैसे नानी छोटे बच्चे को कहानी सुना के सुला देती है और छोटा बच्चा सुन के समझ जाता है, वैसे लोग समझ जाए।
We'll take some questions from the back, please. Yes. Yes, go ahead.
Hello. Hello, Adil sir and Prakash sir. As you both are very good actors, I just wanted to ask you that how you decide that, yes, after reading the script, after reading the characters, that yes, you have got a character and it is not, how do you make it not repetitive from the other films? Like, how do you decide that, what are the techniques and traits that you follow that, yes, this is the character I wanted for this and I have found that character now?
Hello. I think there's no recipe for it. How do I do it? But there are some fundamental things. I think that if the character is credible, the intent behind the script is the person who is writing the script. There's a certain amount of purity. When I say purity, I mean that he's not only making the film to prove himself or earn money, but there is also urgency to tell the story, that share the story, and there is, the character, and it's an important part of the narrative. That if you take away the role from the narrative, what happens to it? Even if it is a 10-minute or 2-minute or 3 minutes role, I love playing small, short roles. There's nothing called short roles. There's roles, but if it is small also, short also, I love it, and I did it in so many films. But it has to make sense in terms of its truth, the depth of how deeply it has been conceived. These are all very, what do you call that, abstract words that I'm using. Deep, what does it mean by deep? We can keep talking about it. It has to somehow make sense that, okay, I understand, I identify, I believe this.
आपके पास कोई स्टोरी है?
Is that the intent of the question?
नहीं तो आप भेजिए उसको।
So that's that. And if I haven't done something like this before, even if I have done, like, there could be, I have done 3 or 4 police roles. But there are, maybe in Delhi, there are 80,000 policemen. And 80,000 policemen are 80,000 different policemen. So it's not like you've done police. But when cinema in India generally has the habit of boxing you, like Iftikhar Saab was the policeman of Bollywood cinema, or Hindi cinema. And I know that that's the danger I had, so I stopped playing police officers. So
दूध का दूध, पानी का पानी।
I don't want to.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
सर आज हमारा विषय है रियल लाइफ को रियल लाइफ में लाना। तो सर आज के समय में या बहुत पहले भी सबसे बड़ा जैसे बायोपिक किसी की रियल लाइफ को हम लोग रियल लाइफ में लाते हैं, तो वहाँ पर ऐसा रहता है कई चीज़ें हम पर थोपी जा रही हैं। जैसे कि ये आदमी ऐसा है, ऐसा तुम मानो, ऑडियंस को थोपी जाती है। तो मतलब एक निर्देशक का नजरिया क्या होना चाहिए उस फिल्म के साथ या ऑडियंस के साथ कि बहुत सारी ऐसी बायोपिक हैं आप सबने देखी होंगी जिसमें ऐसा लगता है कि मानने के लिए ऑडियंस को मजबूर किया जा रहा है कि ये आदमी ऐसा ही है। कोई भी बायोपिक, पुरानी हो नई हो, तो उसमें एक निर्देशक का क्या नजरिया होना चाहिए जिससे वो फिल्म के साथ न्याय कर सके?
बायोपिक भी एक कहानी है ना, और जब हम कहानी कहते हैं तो बायोपिक पूरी तरह से उतारी भी जा सकती है, बायोपिक प्रेरणा भी बन सकती है, बायोपिक के बेसिक्स हो सकते हैं, बायोपिक में बहुत सारे ऐसे कैरेक्टर्स हो सकते हैं जो फिक्शन की तरह भी आए। और ऐसा कभी नहीं होता कि बायोपिक किसी के ऊपर में थोपी जाए या कोई कहानी किसी के ऊपर में थोपी जाए। आप उसको मान सकते हैं या आप उसको नहीं मान सकते, क्योंकि आपको लेके जाने की जरूरत नहीं है। तो जब ऐसी बायोपिक बने जो जीवन के करीब हो, क्योंकि कोई व्यक्ति नहीं होता जिसके हर तरह के गुण ना हो। उसकी क्वालिटीज भी होती हैं, उसकी कमियां भी होती हैं, उसके अच्छाइयां भी होती हैं, और कई बार उसकी जाने अनजाने में बुराइयां भी होती हैं। अच्छी बायोपिक वो होती है जो इन सबको मिला करके एक प्रेरणादायी फिल्म बना सके, कहानी कह सके। तो आप जो बात कह रहे हैं उसमें कोई ऐसा फिक्स्ड फार्मूला नहीं है, जिस तरह से जो इंटरप्रेट करे, बट इवेंचुअली वो कहानी होनी चाहिए, और ऐसी कहानी होनी चाहिए जो दर्शक को एंगेज कर सके, दर्शक को लुभा के रख सके वो 2 घंटे या 2.5 घंटे की जितने देर की बने फिल्म। तो ईच वन टू वन सेल्फ।
So we'll take one question from this side and one more question, and then sir, let's allow somebody else.
अभी दूसरे को पूछने दीजिए।
Yes, at the back, please.
Sir, I am Balaji from Avicii Hospital, South of Chennai. As an actor, how do you think you can gather audience once acting?
Okay. Just come again.
As an actor, how do you think you can gather audience through one's acting?
Gather audience. Oh, that's no, that's the job of the producer. I know. I think what
exactly the question, I didn't really understand yet.
how do you gather audience?
How do you gather audience through your acting?
How do you keep the audience engaged?
Once acting, sir, he said.
Gather audience through your acting, he wants to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How do you captivate?
Yeah, exactly. I think, please sit down. I think if you are performing truthfully, like, I don't know actually how to do that.
Yet you are an actor?
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I will. I mean, there's so many ways people do it. Like, you know, I mean, I was working with Rajnikant in 2.0, and he's completely different kind of actor. And I asked Shankar, why did you hire me? He said, no, I wanted both of you because you're from different school of acting. You're from different school of acting, and we wanted you to be together. I'm like, okay. So I did not gather any. I did not attract audience. I think the film does. No, I don't know. It's a good question. I've never thought about it. I don't know how to answer that. I'm sorry.
As an actor?
What do you think, sir?
The constant problem, no? To get the audience.
Yeah, as a producer's
So
problem.
I mean, you as an actor, you're not.
No. I can do as much as possible. Like,
आप देख रहे हैं ना कैसे कैसे लोगों के साथ काम करना पड़ता है। Yeah.
Following
on from that, what about after a film is made? Is the responsibility with the actor to gather the audience?
It's a whole lot of things, like, it's the equity that the actor brings in the film, it's equity that the producer or the director, everybody put together, and to be able to reach the curiosity about the film, about the subject, to be able to reach it out to people. We use various marketing means to do that. That's the only way out, I think, that's the challenge, if you are a superstar, even then, all the superstars, they go to all kinds of shows and they do all kinds of marketing, they do get a lot more space than, us.
But you're not a bad marketer yourself. All your films have had a lot of marketing buzz around it.
Well, so somewhere we succeed, But yes, the various ways and means. You just can't get on the road and say, hey, I'm acting in this film, come on, watch it.
This side, all right, the lady.
I'm Bilba from Chennai. My question is to Prakash Ji as a director and to Adil Ji as an actor. In your experience, since you let the actor discover the character, the patra, has it ever happened that because of the nuance an actor has brought to the character, you've actually redefined the character in any of your films, or changed the script or added texture to the character that you had in mind, or visualized that?
Very, very good question, whether the actor has gone beyond the character. Is that what you mean?
Yes, and which has actually led to the director almost changing the character in the process of it.
To be very honest, I am sure this must have happened at some point of time with some people. But you see, what happens that with me as a director or as a writer, because I also write my own films, I live with those characters for such a long time and I keep working on them. And I have seen them taking birth, emerging, living their lives and reacting. So they are pretty much there. But your question is very right in the sense that when I start working with the characters, with the actors, like even with Adil, I narrated the story to him one time. Then he was sent the script and he read it. Then we again met and he had some questions and we chatted about it. And then before we went to shoot, we did a 1-week workshop where we kept on talking about the character every single day. Physically, he went into the kind of acquaintance process and sort of like, by the time we were on the set, he was almost where I thought he would be. This happens with every single actor, say for example, if I'm making a film called Arakshan, where Saif Ali Khan is playing a Dalit character. Now it will be foolish for me to understand or to even expect that Saif Ali Khan will know about the history of the Dalit movement or history of Arakshan or pro-reservation or Mandal Commission, etc., etc. I am the one who is supposed to know about all these things because I have written, I have lived, I have seen, I have analyzed, and it's my job to be able to inform him. So I have several sessions with him when I read the scenes, when I talk about it, and when I encourage him to ask questions, and I inform him as much as possible so that he comes aware on the set of the character, of the characteristics of the character, and then he brings a whole lot on the table by putting his own mind to it. So that is what a director does, and that is how we should work. But it really will be wonderful if someday I see that the character that I have created is kind of like is flying in a different zone, and I may have to alter a little bit on the script or something like that, it can happen. That magic can happen, but it hasn't happened as yet.
The last question and then.
Hi Adil sir, hi Prakash sir. My question is for Prakash sir. Sir, you worked in the movie Sankhya recently, and I loved the movie. It was awesome. My question is, you played a negative role in that, and it was a vexatious and a very orthodox role. So, does that character affect your you as a person after the project is done?
It can, but this particular character or this particular role was not so intense. It was limited. I identified with the character because I know that this kind of patriarchy exists, and these women who are constantly fighting, constantly trying to negotiate their small pleasures by going to these tournaments and winning medals and things like that, and negotiating their little bit of independence that they can, are fighting against this character. So I had to be this menacing, orthodox, indoctrinated kind of patriarch who thinks nothing about women except that they are like, cattle. So it was terrible on the days that I was shooting. It really, because I had to get into that kind of mode, which should look natural, but to have that, to acquire that on those particular days, it used to be heavy. But then, after all, they're just characters that one is playing. So, you got out of it when you entered the day.
Thank you, sir, and I want to thank both of you. And I want to thank Ify for giving me this opportunity, and it's such a privilege to be with both of you and to have done this session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ify, and thank you all.